Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Yuka Kitajima. I know it said Yuka Pualani Kitajima on the advertisement, but Pualani is not my official name. It's just a Hawaiian name my mom gave me. So yeah, please feel free to call me Yuka. I am originally from Osaka, Japan, which is the west part. We have lots of great food. And when I was a senior year in high school, I decided to go study abroad in America. So I'm really excited to share my experience and some of the, I guess, insights with all of you. My hobbies, I really enjoy reading. I also like to play Animal Crossing, which is a Nintendo Switch game. And I've been into journaling, so writing out my feelings a little bit recently.
Thank you, Yuka. Well, I can see that many when you said about Switch and games, many people are really smiling. I think we can share a lot of hobbies here. Yeah, I do enjoy games as well as a hobby. So yeah, thank you, Yuka. So as we can see on the screen on the PPT right now, there's a few logos on there, like Tactopia, iLeap, and Miratuku. What are these? Can you share with us?
Sure. So Tactopia is an education company based in Tokyo. We do entrepreneurship education as well as art education, liberal arts, and English teaching. Um, I am a learning designer and partner relations manager. So what I do is I design educational programs and run workshops with middle school and high school students all over Japan. We sometimes take students to different country and do workshops there as well. iLeap is also an education company. It's actually a social purpose corporation based in Seattle, USA. There we do leadership development program, and I'm the program manager there. So I manage programs, but basically I do a few tweaks to curriculum design. I talk to our students, and I help our guide to run workshops as well. And Miratuku is a think tank based in Kyoto, which is the west part of Japan. And we help big companies to kind of come up with a new project within the organization with our extensive research. So I am a research assistant there, helping a lot of projects with, I guess, analysis and all of that. So those are the companies I currently work for as a freelancer.
All right, thank you, Yuka. So from this, we can see that Yuka has a lot of experiences working around the world with people from different countries in different ages as well. So I really hope that you guys can ask her many questions in today. You can ask during the talk show, and also we have Q&A time. So please feel free to ask anything you want. All right.
Yeah, I really do hope people ask me questions. So please use the chat box and send us any questions you may have.
Hmm. And if you feel shy to just put the chat box, put your question in the chat box, you can see that there's a guy named Matthew TCB. He can receive your questions personally if you want to send directly to us. Yeah. So you can send in questions in different ways. All right. Okay. So let's start. Oh, all right. So if you have seen our videos on Facebook and Instagram, Yuka has experience living in Japan because she's from Japan, and she has experiences living in the US, in America. So our talk show today will revolve around how her journey has been and how she has changed throughout her journey in Japan to America and then back again to Japan. I've had many chats with Yuka before, and I believe this talk show will be really valuable for you to learn how she coped with all those cultural differences and how she was able to develop her abilities. So okay, let's start from the beginning. So Yuka, so where are you in Japan? Where were you born in Japan? What was the city?
I was born in Osaka. It was
Mhm.
1994, so I'm 26 years old right now.
Oh, okay, senpai. Um, so let's start the shop with Yuka's life before the US. Yeah, so I would want to know how was your life before the US when you were in high school? How was it? How was your high school time? How did you spend time studying or with friends and family?
Okay. So to preface a little bit, I started learning English, I think when I was 2 years old. But and I went to regular public school in Japan for elementary school education, and then for middle school and high school, I went to a semi-international school. So there we had some lessons or classes in English. And there I really studied English extra hard, because I had always wanted to communicate with people from all over the world. Um, I was a very active student back in high school. So let's see. I was in probably 6 or 7 club activities at school, and I was doing maybe 4 or 5 extracurricular activities outside school. So my daily schedule would look like I would leave for school around 6:30 a.m., got to school, and then practice trumpet from 7:30 to 8:30. Yeah, I kind of got the schedule recreated, but it's really small. Sorry. But then I would take classes from 8:30 to 3:30. I usually have 2 or 3 meetings afterwards until 6:30. Got home, ate dinner, and then did homework for about 2 3 hours. And from about 10 or 11 p.m. till 2 or 3 a.m., I would study for TOEFL and SAT because I was preparing to apply for colleges in the US. And on weekends, I would usually either have a meeting for upcoming camps that I was running, or I would study for exams, or I would yeah, do a bunch of things on weekends. And I made friends through those extracurricular activities. So I didn't necessarily go shopping with them per se, but I would always spend time with my friends. And I made sure to have dinner with my family, with my parents all the time. So even though it looks really busy, I still managed to have some time with my family and friends as well.
Well, Yuka, you would be my mom's favorite daughter if you were in my family like that. You did everything perfectly with this really well organized schedule. Yeah. So how did you build that habit in the beginning to have this really well organized schedule every week?
So to me, it was really chaotic, to be honest. It was very busy every day. I wouldn't say I was organized, but I think I try to keep all the to-dos on the list so that I can see what I need to do on that day of. I also have like monthly calendar so that I can make sure when the big exams come, I can prepare for that. And just the drive, wanting to do better, wanting to get into college, wanting to do everything I can, wanting to make the most out of my high school life, really kind of drove me to do this busy schedule. But I wouldn't recommend this to anyone.
Okay. So from this experience that you share in your high school, I feel like you are really a role model student. Like any university in Japan would accept you, to be honest, from just from my look. But why did you chose to move to the US? Why?
Yeah, it's a good question. I had always wanted to get out of Japan, just because it felt a little bit small to me. It felt a little bit isolated, and um, I didn't necessarily enjoy um, some some culture that we have here in Japan. So I had always wanted to go abroad, and I thought I would go study abroad during college for about a year for exchange program. But then I met somebody from Osaka, so the same state, and he told me that he was going to go study abroad for 4 years for college. I'm like, huh, that's possible. Um, and so I wanted to really take that challenge and push myself to go study abroad as well. If now that was a possible option for me. So that's the main reason. And I also wanted to, as I said before, I had always wanted to communicate with people from all over the world, and I felt like being in the US for 4 years as a college student would really allow me to do that. So those are the main reasons.
I see. I actually have the same experience as you in the beginning because I wanted to get out of Vietnam and to explore the world. And
Mm-hmm.
I was interested in anime and manga, and I felt like Japanese culture is so cool. Why not go there and study? Yeah, so maybe I can share a little bit of your feelings over there. So I have a
Yeah.
question to our audiences here. So how many of us are actually studying abroad? Actually having plans to study abroad? If you can like put a thumbs up, like a reaction,
How
if you
many of
have.
you are currently studying abroad?
Okay, that's one,
Have studied
two
abroad.
people.
Okay, cool.
Okay, four people now. Right, some people are putting the cameras off. So if you can put your reactions there, you see as well. Now that's five. That's the five people. Okay. Okay, that's like half of the people in this chat room have had experiences living abroad for educations. That's good. So I believe wherever you're studying in, we can share a few of the problems when you first visited countries for the first time. So let's hear from Yuka. So Yuka, what was that was surprising for you? What's difficult for you in the beginning when you first moved to the US?
There are a lot of challenges that I had to overcome. Um, One thing that comes to my mind is, discriminations are, it can happen anywhere in the world, right? There are discriminations here in Japan. There's one in America as well, and being an Asian person, Asian woman in the U.S. was a big challenge for me. Um, and to add to that, I was fluent enough to get into college, but I wasn't fluent enough to have conversations with friends or peers. So I can catch up with classes. I can understand what professors are saying. I can barely read all the materials for classes, but when it comes to discussion or when it comes to friendly conversations, I just wouldn't be able to understand it. And to think about that, I think it's language difficulty, as in, you know, my first year roommate told me I spoke like a textbook. And it's true, like when you learn a new language, you tend to speak more like a textbook rather than, casual. So for me, the first barrier was language, but also I really didn't know any of the American pop culture that people tend to talk about. So I clearly remember on the first day of orientation for college, people would ask me, "Oh, do you watch Netflix?" I'm like, "What is Netflix?" Because it wasn't the thing back in Japan in 2013. So I was like, "What is Netflix?" And people are like, okay, so who do you like on Friends? And Friends, an American TV show that everyone watches. And I was like, Friends? Are you asking me about my friends? I really didn't understand any of the part my peers were talking about. And eventually they're like, oh, okay, bye, see you later. And then I didn't get to become friends with that person. So that barrier was really just difficult to overcome as well.
I see. So again, I can really feel you on that topic when we have different topics in different countries, and it's quite hard to blend in the beginning. Yeah. But how about the conversation style between Japanese people and American people? Are there many differences that you felt in the beginning?
To be completely honest, I can't really speak for all Americans. But the part where I was in, it was in, so I went to DePauw University right here, in Indiana, which is the middle part of the US. Um, the region is called Midwest. So the people in Midwesterners, they're really nice people, and they tend to go around the bush. So when it comes to conversation, you can't really tell what they're actually thinking. So it's really similar to how Japanese people kind of carry the conversation. So for me, it wasn't necessarily a culture shock, but more so just a surprise to see, because I was expecting the conversation to be more direct and open, but it wasn't the same way. So that was a surprise for me.
From hearing from you, I felt surprised as well because it's just my assumptions. Like from TV shows and movies, American people are really straightforward. They say that they want to say just like that. But I didn't know that people in Indiana actually have a similar conversation patterns to Japanese people like that. Well, that's something interesting right here. So yeah, thank you for that. So how about the environment there? Is it different from where you live in Japan, from Osaka?
Yeah, so Osaka is a relatively big city, and Indiana, where I went, was Green Castle, and there is nothing there. So no public transportation, like no bus, no trains, no nothing. So you have to ask for a ride um, to get around. So that was a big adjustment that I had to make. But there's always somebody to that is willing to give you a ride anywhere, really.
So is it like you can ask your friends and even strangers to take you for a ride to where you want to?
I wouldn't recommend you asking stranger to give you a ride. um,
Okay. So no
because you
hitchhiking
don't know
then.
that person. But yeah, I still remember the first day I got lost on campus, and the campus is really small. Um, from my dorm to where I got lost, it was only like 3 minutes walk, but I still got lost because all the buildings look pretty much the same to me. And I remember there was a car drove by, and there are two guys in the car, and they're like, "Oh, are you okay? Like, are you lost? Do you want to ride?" I'm like, "Who are these people? I cannot trust you. I am gonna just walk home." And then eventually they got out of the car and they offered me to walk with me to back to my dorm. So that was really really nice of them. So that's one of the mini stories to kind of illustrate what kind of people live in Indiana as well.
Well, that's amazing. That is really sweet. Like
It
how
was
people are
really
so nice
sweet.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, guys. At this point, if you have any questions or if you wanna, you have any similar experience to Yuka, you can just show your reaction, raise your hand, and you can just tune in and talk. Yeah, if you have any question. Any question for now? Not yet. All right. Okay. So we actually have a question in the application form.
Okay.
Yeah. So they asked that with all of those difficulties in the beginning, those culture shocks, those new environments, the new language, all these barriers, how did you find your solutions to cope with them? How did you manage it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's not something you can overcome overnight, right? You just have to start small and build relationships with others, and just know how what your strengths are, and also how you can deliver that to people or convey that to people. Um, so I realized that a lot of people saw me as a very almost adorable person. So almost like a almost like a child. Because I don't know, just how I built a habit of always smiling, even if I didn't understand any of the conversation, because I wanted to be part of what everyone was talking about. And I believed that if I was being nice to everyone, they would always invite me back to their friend circle. So I built this habit of always smiling, and eventually I realized that people would see me as a very cute, adorable, smiley person that never gets angry at anything, which is a different perception from how my Japanese friends saw me. But I kind of use that as an advantage where, if I get really serious, people would take me seriously. And I was an international student, so if I talk about, if I really want to convey the problems that international students are facing to the rest of the community, I have the power to do so. So I realized what position I was in that community and try to use that as an advantage to really make the environments that I and other international students would feel comfortable in. Does that answer your question? Or maybe do you have any follow-up questions to that?
Actually, well, you said that it is not an overnight effort to really blend in that community in the beginning, right? So, how long did it really take you to feel as a part of the community there?
Um, let's see. So I actually didn't talk with my roommate for the first 3 weeks, because she was always sleeping when I was in the room. I would wake up at 6 and left the room and go to the library and study, and I wouldn't come back until 2 a.m. And so she was already sleeping. So I didn't see her for 3 weeks. And when I first talked to her, we went on and on and on about how our life has been so far. So that was a really nice experience. But I think that the moment I really felt like I was part of the community was not until the winter term, so 4 months in, because I had the opportunity to travel to Europe with other American students at DePauw, and I was the only international student in that group. So I really had to learn how American students would carry the conversation and how they interact with each other, how they interact with anything around them. And I feel like I really got to learn how to communicate with them on the same base. So before they would ask me about, my experience in Japan. Like, oh, what's it like in Japan? Do you guys eat sushi in Japan all the time? So all the questions toward me was only about Japan. But during that trip, for the first time ever, I felt like they were asking me questions simply because they're interested in knowing what I was thinking. So that was the moment I felt like, I'm seen as a person, as an individual, not as a Japanese person.
I see, I see. So that's quite interesting. But Yuka, do you like sushi? Because I learned when I was in Japan, I learned that not all Japanese like sushi. It's just an assumption from Western and other countries. But do you like sushi, Yuka?
Yeah, I do.
Is there any Japanese food that you do not like that is different from the assumptions of people?
I don't know if any of you is familiar with this dish called chawanmushi. It's it's like a egg pudding basically, and I'm not really a big fan of it.
Uh,
Mm.
okay. Okay, just a random question though. All right. So we have seen a lot of difficulties in conversations with American
Right.
friends. So is
Mm.
there any conversational patterns that you couldn't understand, like you can still not understand of American people?
Um, yes and no. So I realized that a lot of people use references to TV shows, especially, or like really popular movies. So if you don't know those movies or TV shows, you won't quite understand their jokes. Um, so I still have some difficulty sometimes when people are talking about or people are referencing some jokes and I'm like, I haven't watched that movies. But now I can kind of tell which one is a reference, which one is a like purely just joke, and which one is just coming out of them, you know? So I can still kind of manage to have conversations with them.
All right, I see. Okay, so now let's say we pass that phase of the beginning of getting blending in the culture in America, in Indiana. So let's, Yuka, can you share with us your how do you manage your days? How did you manage the time during your studies in Indiana, in DePauw University?
Sure.
We saw your really packed schedule, but how is it in the US?
I think it was even more packed. So there's actually one person in this chat. I'm not gonna mention their name, but went to the same university as mine. So yeah. Anyway, I'm really happy to see them. So this is one of the schedules from my senior year, so fourth year, final year. Um, the orange one you see are classes that I was taking. I think back in these days I was taking 4 classes, and that's pretty normal for American college students. And I was doing 5 internships on the side. So I was working as at a president's office. I was working at the International Student Services Office, admissions office, career service and study abroad center, and this ethics institute, which is institute of doing research and publications around the theme of ethics. And so, but by the senior year, I learned that sleep is very important. So back in my freshman year, I would only sleep for 2-3 hours and just kept going. So I would go to classes for 2-3 hours a day, and I would study from like 10 to 14 hours at the library, and then sleep only for like 2-3 hours. Like that was normal for me. However, my senior year, I tried to sleep at least 7 hours every night. So you see, some weekends I would still have internships work to do, but other days on weekdays I usually have classes and 2 internships per day. I was also doing some extracurricular activities on campus as well, so that usually come in here and there. But yeah, and I try to schedule lunch and dinner with my friends so that I will have time to spend with them as well. Oh, now there are 2 people that are from DePauw University in this group. Great. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, fans of Yuka, for joining in with us as well. Okay, so we can see that still Yuka is still a role model student, even in the OS, because I have many friends who are from 30 and 40 universities, and they are just struggling with building your schedule to sleep well and to have time to eat and cook and eat every day.
Right.
They don't have time to, to care about themselves. But so Yuka, how did you prioritize your things in a day?
Yeah, I try to prioritize academics because that was the reason I was there, and it's really strict that if you fail a class, if you don't get certain grades, then you will be deported from the government, because it's the requirement for you to maintain the visa status. So I was trying to prioritize academics. Also, the reason I prioritize it is simply because there is a lot of work to do. So I would have to read like a book or 2 every week just to keep up with classes. And on top of that, I was writing 2 theses, so I had to do a lot of research here and there. But at the same time, I didn't want to study all the time, because if I just want to study, I can just stay back home and take online classes. But I just wanted to make friends and have fun and get a lot of experience, like hands-on experience. So I tried to do that with these internships. I think one of the main purpose I had throughout these internships was to promote international students' presence on campus. not that saying the university wasn't doing a great job, but simply it's difficult for international students to get adjusted to the new culture and to build a new life with new friends. And there's a lot of issues with visa, and so it was a really important issue for me to promote to the rest of the campus community how incredibly talented and capable that international students were. So that was the main thing I was really focused on, and yeah.
Wow, you do have a big heart, Yuka, because I have seen many people complain about the situations in their places, but not everyone actually stood up and do something for the people like you,
Mm.
Yuka. So really appreciate you sharing with us your experience in that. Yeah, we have a question from our audiences right here. So you shared that in the beginning, you spend only a few hours every day to sleep. So how did you actually survive that? That was the question. What was the key to survive those years?
One, I was really young. I had, a lot of energy. Um, Two, coffee and monsters. Don't do it. I don't recommend that to anybody. And three, just having a larger goals and will to do better and to achieve goals. I think those were the main reasons why I kept going. However, I should also mention that in my first year in college, I would always have high fever every other weekend because I wasn't simply not sleeping enough, not eating enough, and not just resting enough and having a lot of coffee. So, yeah, ever since then, I try to sleep more and more every day.
Mm. And is there any other changes in your lifestyle throughout your university years?
Um, well,
Like exercises and how you spend your time in the day?
so in my third year, I started working out, going to the gym, and fourth year, I started going to yoga classes. So I would say I was much healthier back then compared to now. Yeah, so that was the things I was trying to do. Also, just simply I made a lot of friends on campus that I can simply hit up and say, hey, you want to hang out and just go to Starbucks or go to the library and study together or go to the cafeteria and eat together. So I think that was also, I guess, a change, especially compared to the beginning of my university life.
Mm, I see, I see. So in terms of changes in you, Yuka, I think it's not just about how you change your lifestyle, your behaviors, but the most important thing is the mindset.
Mm,
Yeah, because you're from Japan,
mm,
which countries that we know that is a really strong-minded mindset. Everybody is a really have really strong concerns about the rules, always keeping the rules, always to look good in front of others people. While in America, they have a really different cultural mindset. So, do you have any discovery during your university years about the mindset?
that's a good question. Hmm. To be honest, regarding the rules, I don't really. I feel like I haven't really changed. Um, Mindset. I guess one of the things for me was, in the beginning, I was really trying to fit into the culture there. I was trying to um, kind of silence myself and then try to almost be like an ambassador for Japanese culture because they would talk to me if it was about Japan, right? So even though I didn't necessarily like some part of Japan, and the reason I went to the America was simply I wanted to get out of there. I would always be like, "Oh, I know a lot about Japan. Ask me questions," and try to really fit into the culture and to the people there. But I realized, okay, so I lived with 60 other people in one big house in my second year and third year. And I think 90% of us was American students. So there I saw some differences in Americans. Even though I felt like all Americans were the same, because when you look from afar, you can't really see the difference, right? But when you get closer, you can really see the difference in personality, preferences, their dreams, their goals, their like religions, like anything really. So I started seeing people more individually, and I think that was when I realized that I can just be myself and still make friends. Um, so since then, I I think that was when I really started trying to promote international students' presence on campus, and that was when I started voicing my opinions and um, be the introvert self, but also really like socializing. So socializing with others. Really didn't care about how um, people might see me and judge me, because that's their problem, not mine. So I think, yeah, that's when I kind of started evolving.
Thank you, Yuka. Thank you, Yuka. I think that is really important things for us to see here. That Yuka found her real self. She found that she didn't have a responsibility to always represent Japan.
Mm.
No, she is not Japan. She is Yuka. Yuka is Yuka, and she really found the freedom to express herself to people, to friends in the U.S. I think that is a beautiful thing that I'm still struggling to find my own freedom in expressing myself nowadays. So yeah, I think that's one important point because the topic today is how to fit in without losing yourself. And thanks to Yuka's answer, we found that it is to understand that we only have the responsibility to express ourselves, to be true to ourselves, and maybe to help other people in our journey. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to say that it's a lifelong journey. Wherever you go, you always have to kind of find a position to be in, and sometimes it's a given, right? So coming back to Japan, which I think we'll talk about in a few minutes, but coming back to Japan, I found myself being really confused with my identity, because now I had like this Japanese side of myself and an American side of myself. So it was just again finding the purpose and how I can kind of again fit in and not silencing myself in a new community. And I think it happens when you change your job. It happens when you go to a grad school, because it's yeah, it's just simply um, even if you know who you are um, and what you're good at and what you're passionate about, it's always about how you can kind of communicate that with other people around you.
Mm. Thank you, Yuka. Okay, so before we get into the part of Yuka going back to Japan, let's go to the reason why. So, Yuka, why did you go back to Japan in the first
Um,
place?
yeah, I actually didn't want to come back to Japan, to be honest, but my visa just didn't get approved, so I had to come back.
Okay, that's straightforward. All right. So, I really have this question. I really want to ask you, Yuka. I just have this question right now in my head. So, I came back to Vietnam from Japan, and I noticed that the first moment I stepped down from the airplane, I had these comparisons between Vietnam and Japan about the environment, about the people, about the food, about the air, about the water. I mean, about everything. And I just subconsciously, I compared everything. Yeah. So, did you have that anything like that? Any comparisons between Japan and America when you came back?
Yes, I think so.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What were they? What were
I
they?
mean, don't we always, when we go to a new country, it, I think your experience shape you as who you are. So it also shapes your perception or perspectives it's almost like a lens that you wear. So when you first got into a new country, or even coming back to a country that you have been long apart, like you kind of see that world through that lens, and something might look a little bit strange to your eyes, and I think that's pretty normal.
Okay. All right. So, Yuka, how have you been managing in Japan from then until now? What have you been doing in Japan?
Yeah, so when I first came back to Japan, I actually had difficulties communicating with my parents, because everything I experienced in the US, that was through my English brain, right? So when you're almost like fluent in that language, you don't think in your original language, or you don't think in your mother tongue. Your brain straight goes to that language. So in my case, that was English. So I saw everything, I processed everything in English. I felt all the emotions in English, right? And I had all the conversations in English. So when I came back to Japan and tried to have the conversation about it with my parents, I couldn't necessarily translate that well into Japanese. I also couldn't translate the context into the Japanese, or into the thing that my parents would understand. So in the first month or two, I had really difficult time communicating with my parents, and I also had difficult time communicating with my friends from high school, because a lot of them went to Japanese universities. Um, but I took a part-time job at this English after-school English program, and there I met a bunch of people from different parts of the world, and I feel like I found my place in Japan, where I felt comfortable and welcome, and was I was able to share jokes and TV shows and like all the pop culture with them. So that was the first time I kind of um, saw myself living in Japan as almost like a reality. Like, I could do this, right? And but then I met a bunch of Japanese high school students, middle school students, who were just so bright. They have so much potential, and yet they hadn't really met the best education that would fit them. So I decided that I wanted to go into the education field, meeting a lot more students, and sharing the experience with them. So I decided to take a full-time job at Tactopia, which is the education startup company that I talked about in the beginning.
Wow. Thank you for realizing your own goals and keep doing that until now, or else we wouldn't have you here talking with us today. So yeah, appreciate that, Yuka, for choosing your path of career like that. So maybe that will be this will be the last question from me, and we'll
Okay.
spend more time for the Q and A's. Yeah. So in the next few years, like 3 to 5 years, what are your plans with all those experiences that you have accumulated throughout the years? What are you gonna do in the future?
I don't know yet. I'm still trying to find the calling. I love my job. I love what I'm doing. I really like the people I'm working with. Um, I'm really grateful for all the opportunities. My dream is to to be happy. I'm happy, and I hope to continue to be happy. But I guess in 3 to 5 years, I really hope that I get recognized as some professional or expert by some people, so that um, I can I can use my power and knowledge and experience to a greater good. Uh, I think that's my goal for now.
And that is a beautiful goal, I believe.
I hope
Thank you.
so.
Thank you for sharing with us, Yuka. Okay, so it's time for the Q&A. We have many questions from the audiences in the personal chat box here. Let me
Okay.
get on. Okay, so here's the new question. So you just mentioned about you wanted to be happy.
Mm.
You are happy now, and you want to continue to be happy in the future. So, what is your definition of happiness? And also, um, about Japanese people definitions of happiness comparing to Americans people definition of happiness. Are there any differences?
Okay. So I can't really speak for everyone. I can't really speak for Japanese. I can't speak for Americans. Um, but to me personally, happiness is just being comfortable with my own skin, being content, feeling good when I go to bed at the end of the day, and build good relationships with people around me, and doing meaningful work. That's my definition of happiness.
Thank you, Yuka. I hope that each of our audiences today have their own definitions of happiness, or maybe you're trying to find one. I'm trying as
Mm.
well. So yeah, good luck everyone on finding your own definitions.
I
All
think
right.
when you define, what's happiness to you or what's success to you, I'm still doing that for myself too. So it's not like an advice, but rather sharing my insights. But when you define those two, I think a lot of decision making will be easier because you know what's happy for you, you know what success looking like for you. So if you encounter some new opportunities, you can decide, okay, is it going to make me happy? Is it going to make me feel like I'm being successful? And so I think it will really, really help you um, to make decisions and um, to grow and to be even happier and more successful.
Hmm. I think making original decisions is a big part of being original while trying to blend in a new
Mm,
culture, because it's all about us making decisions in our lives. And when we really understand what we're heading to, what we want to achieve in the future, what our goals, what our end goal of our life are, then we can really make original decisions
mm,
in the new community. All right.
mm.
Okay. There's another question here. Um, Yuka, what is one thing that you expect that wasn't actually true in America when you first arrived?
So, what was the thing I was expecting and that wasn't true?
Mm.
Um, mm, I'm not sure. Maybe I guess I didn't really have any expectations or anticipations, but I guess I found surprising that a lot of people read a lot. They like to, they practice some sort of beliefs, um, and they um, really cherish their family and friends. Like it's not like I didn't know that part of their life, but it was eye opening to me because those values are something that I didn't necessarily hear from a lot of my Japanese friends. Um, and there's no like right or wrong, there's no better or worse to this, but simply um, I was just surprised to see a lot of my peers, yeah, just wanting to spend more time with their family and wanting to read more and things like that. Yeah.
Mm. I see. So I feel like that's a difference in priorities between people from different cultures.
I
I
guess
actually
so.
recently have a friend. He is currently working in a Japanese company, but he's gonna move to Thailand in the next year. So he did many researches about Thailand people, cultural. I forgot my English just now. I only have that Japanese in my mind. The cultural differences between Thailand and Japanese people, and he found
Mm-hmm.
that Japanese people they value the work a lot. Working, the most of Japanese people maybe value their work a lot. Working is like their life purpose. But for Thailand people, it's more like families and friends. So the top one priority is families and friends, like that. So it's just different. So for that guy, the friend of mine, he gotta learn how to blend in that culture to be more friendly instead of working all day, to spend more time to build friendships with his colleagues in Thailand.
Mm.
So I feel like in different cultures, we all have those kind of findings and discoveries as well.
Yeah, yeah, that might be it. That makes sense.
Okay, another question is, so does making good first impression really important in terms of getting fit in?
Mm.
Hmm.
Like, is it important? That's the question.
To make a good first impression. Yeah.
I think as long as you're trying, that's fine. But if you are giving off some bad impressions or negative first impressions, I don't think people would want to talk to you. Okay.
Mm. I think like firstly we gotta discuss like what do we mean by a good first impression? Yeah. Like what is
Yeah.
our goal in making that first impression to a new people?
Yeah.
You know?
I think. Well, I think everyone wants to feel seen and heard, right? Your story matters. Your voice matters. You matter, and that's a base for healthy relationships, whether it's friendship or romantic relationships. So it's not about you trying to make yourself look good, but it's about you want to how you communicate with that person that you want to build a good relationship with them. I think that's the key. Does that make sense? So it's
I
not
think I
like
do
you
understand.
yeah, it's not like you want to be seen as a good person or you want to be seen as a like positive person or successful person, but rather it's about you wanting to get to know the other person better. And in order to do that, if you are being really sad or if you're being really like frustrated or angry, the other person can't open up to you. So trying to kind of maintain your emotions and possibly possibly giving them some positive emotions. I think that will have them kind of open up and then start to have more authentic communications or authentic conversations. So I think that's the reason why we want to give them a good first impression.
From my perspective, a good first impression is when the other person can feel connected to us. Just as
Yeah.
Yuka said, when we feel
Mm,
connected to each other, you know,
mm,
we really feel the true values of the other person, the partner,
mm-hmm,
and then we communicate. That's when we make good first impression that that can create a long lasting friendship between the two. I actually learned this the hard way.
okay.
So in Japan, um, the living standard in Japan is really different from Vietnam. It's much higher, to be honest, and it was difficult for me to maintain my financial status. But so I got to find scholarships, and I had interviews with these big people from those companies who are giving out scholarships to students. And in the beginning, I tried to show that I'm a perfect student. I can speak well, I can present, I can do this, I can do that. But eventually, I didn't get a scholarship.
Mm,
And my friends, my senpai who got this scholarship, they told me they don't really care about those. They care about who you are. So
mm,
when you do those interview, speak about yourself authentically, not as a perfect person. You always have flaws, but that's fine as long as you are trying to improve yourself. It's all about being true, to be original in all the cases in life. So I
yeah,
learned that the hard way.
I agree. As a partner relations manager, I've been interviewing a lot of people to recruit, and you can kind of tell when that person is being really honest and authentic compared to when that person is trying to sell something to you.
Okay. So guys, we have time for 3 to 4 more questions only. So does anyone want to raise your hands and speak up to ask Yuka directly?
Yeah, or
You
you
can
can
just
use the
raise your
chat
hand.
box too.
Hmm. Any raising hands? We're waiting for you. Oh, we have Chan Boss Sang raising hand. You can unmute yourself now. Hello. Chan Boss.
Hmm.
We're not hearing you. Maybe you can try to plug in your headphones or ask in the chat box as well. Yeah.
I think May has a question as well if Chamboth doesn't.
Okay. So while Chabal is typing her or his question in the chat box, May, you can speak up.
Wait, right? Okay. I have one question for Yuka. In your life, how you define your success?
Thank you. How do I define my success is it's really the same as me being happy.
That is really simple and straightforward about that. Okay, so I saw Mei Zhang raising hand as well. What's your question?
Hello. Thanks, Dad. Really great emceeing, and thanks, Yuka, for sharing your experiences. It was really great hearing your experiences. 2 years back, I actually went on exchange to America. So I went to upstate New York and spent 5 months. So having been a native sort of like Australian English speaker, I don't think I faced as much of like I guess barriers. But there was a bit of like shock. It is slightly different. You notice like every different English speaking country has its own little like quirks and differences. And I'm just wondering, like, since you've now had like some experience in the US and also like working back in Japan, ideally, would you like to stay and work in Japan or like go back to US for work? Yeah, just sharing your thoughts on that.
Thank you, May. I think there is another similar question. If I was given another opportunity to work abroad, would I leave Japan? Yes, I would leave Japan. I mean, I love Japanese students, and I love that I live close to my parents, and I've built some good relationships here as well. So I don't want to leave that behind, but still, well, I feel like if I was given another opportunity, I would definitely want to work abroad. I personally really like the working environment in America, especially in the universities. Um, so I might want to eventually go back to working in higher education field. I might want to go to, I don't know, like Singapore maybe. I've visited there last year. I really like the culture there. I've been to Europe before, and I might like living there. So I think that life is too short to just end living in one country, working in one country. I would love to make the most out of the opportunities that are given to me.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Yuka.
you. Okay, so we'll have the last question, guys.
Okay.
So there's the last question in the chat box asking, this is from Chan Boss saying, what are the qualities or perceptions that a person should have if they want to move or study abroad? Specifically, I really want to know about Japan.
That's a really good question. I think that will be a good person to answer this honestly. But to me, I think having curiosity, like being curious about everything around you, is really important. Whether it be a new learning, surprises, people, anything really, because that will help you to discover something new, and that will help you to adjust and I guess making peace with the new surprises, new findings. So yeah, I think being curious will always help you. And I think if you have more specific questions about Japanese culture or living in Japan, I think that will be happy to answer.
Okay, so for me, as I was in Vietnam, so Vietnamese people were how to say, generally we're informal. We don't have that strict type of formal culture like Japanese people. We don't always bow. We don't always, say thank you and sorry all the time. So that was surprising for me when I first came to Japan to know that Japanese people are really polite, and they have so many honorifics phrases to use in daily lives. And I've learned to accept those differences. I learned to use those, and actually, like, it's a part of me now. Like just today, I asked my sister to take me a cup of water, and I said "onegai shimasu" in Japanese to her, and I just felt like, oh, okay, now I'm just a part of Japanese me now there. So I think to always be curious, just like Yuka said, and to be ready to accept differences, that you will be changed to a new person. In what way, we don't know, but it depends on you. All right,
Do we
so I
have
think that,
extra 30 seconds to answer one more question? Because that's, I think, a really good question.
okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah. So how to motivate yourself when you're stuck in uncertainty? That's a very, very hard time or hard challenges that you have to overcome. I think taking care of yourself really helps to have healthy mind and healthy body to try something new. And if you're stuck somewhere, and if you're not sure about something that comes to your way, you can always change your environment. You can always change the people you hang out with. But to begin that, I think you really need to have a healthy mind and body for that, so that you can take on that challenge fully. So I think the answer is sleep well, eat well, exercise, which I'm not really good at. But yeah, that will be my answer to that.
Thank you, Yuka. So yeah, everybody, please eat well, eat more greens, okay? Get those vegetables from the supermarket. And yeah, exercise if you have time, even if just 15 minutes in a day. It can really, really help you to release the stresses in your life. All right, so that would be the last question from today. So thank you, Yuka. Thank you, everybody. There's one last part of today that we need you to help with. So Matthew had just sent us the feedback form. So for better masterclasses in the future, we ask for your help for cooperation to fill in these feedback forms so we can make better masterclasses in the future for all of you to join. Yeah. So so lastly, thank you, Yuka. So here's, if you want to connect with Yuka in the future, you can find her here with her Instagram, Facebook, and her future projects as well. Yeah, I'll give you 5 seconds to take a screenshot of that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I hope you got that. And if you want to learn more soft skills, we TCB, we have a lot of courses, and we are always ready to help you. Just give us a message. And TCB Education is launching right now. We are giving out free English lessons to help you in all different skills like presentations, or if you need help with your homework, or maybe your relatives, your friends are learning English, we're here to help. Really hope to see you in our TCB Education courses. And please follow and like our Instagram and Facebook page. We hope to help you more in the future, to connect with you and basically be friends. Yeah, and if possible, leave us a review on Google. Okay, so yeah, thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you, Yuka, for spending your time. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of the masterclass. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, and we'll see you in the
Thank you,
future.
Yuka.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Have a great day, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay
Feel
safe.
free.
Stay safe. Wear
Feel
mask.
free to message me anytime.
Bye
You
bye. Bye bye.
please stay for a
Bye.
couple of minutes after this. Yuka?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. That was good, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Cool.
was
Great.
successful. Indeed.
Awesome. Yeah, so yeah, thanks so much, Yuka. Great work. I just wanted me to step back for a little bit because we want to book in a time for the for a quick kind of recap of the project so far. It'll just be about 20 to 30 minutes of like a final, like we would like to know what you think about the whole process and anything that we can improve on the future. So it would be great to have your insights on that. So yeah, what do you think? Within the next week, you think that there's a good time for us to talk for like have a quick meeting?
Yeah. Let's see. Oh.
Like 15 minutes talk would be really great.
No, I know.
Mm.
Let's see. I think before 9:30 a.m. on Monday or
Japan time, you mean?
Japan time.
Pardon?
Sure, I'm good. I have time on Monday.
Sorry, Yuka, could you mention that again?
Yeah, so I'll list a few slots. I can do before 9:30 a.m. on Monday the 14th, Japan time. I can do between 2:30 and 6 p.m. on Tuesday the 15th, Japan time. And I think the 16th, Wednesday the 16th, I can do 9:30 a.m. till 11 a.m. Japan time. I hope that works for everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. I will send everyone a Google Calendar, and yeah, we'll talk again very soon during that meeting. And yeah,
Sounds good.
yeah. So thank you so much for
Yeah,
today.
thank you guys.
We'll see you all again very soon. Bye.
Really well done.
night.
Thanks, Yuka and Dart.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yuka. It went better than expected, really, and you look good today as well. I like what you did with your hair over there.